Hi everyone, I'm going to walk through a couple examples in the ADS system just to serve as an introduction to how ADS does its dispatching and how it potentially could fit in with telematic diagnostic transmissions. So what we're looking at on my screen right now is the ADS dispatching system. We don't have any dispatches up because we're looking for a particular type of dispatch. But what I'm going to do is bring that up side by side with a screencast of my phone so that we could simulate. The phone is intended to serve as a simulation of a diagnostic transmission since I can't really simulate being in the car. But so what we're first going to do is down on the bottom right, we're going to open up the ADS app for telematically transmitting this diagnostic information. So it's intended just to serve as an example of how we can receive those diagnostic transmissions from the outside and they end up inside our system. So I'm going to bring up a particular account. Can see some account details or some contact details, and then I am going to look at the vehicles on that account. This vehicle happens to have one BMW. We're going to look at that BMW. We can see some details such as the VIN, license plate, all that stuff. But what we're really interested in is at the bottom where we've got the little transmit diagnostics button. So my phone could connect to my car to transmit these, or the car could transmit them themselves directly into our system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit that button. I'm going to look at some of the diagnostic information that it is sending over. So it's sending out temperature, the PSI, a potential fault code, reading some of my information off my phone. And then it's also going to send over the GPS coordinates of where my phone is at. So what I'm going to do is just to play here a little bit is I'm going to make it look like they ran over something. So I'm going to give a front PSI of 15 and say a driver's side rear PSI of 22. And then I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. And we should see this dispatch show up in the dispatching system. So we went through and we created it, and you can see that now we're in our dispatching system. We've received that diagnostic information from the outside. We're looking at it, and we just have a quick preview of it where we can get a couple of icons here to tell us what's going on, at least with the tire pressure. We can do the same with battery level and fuel level, all that. But we can look at it, we can definitely go, okay, well, just from a visual, there's a visual indicator that something's going on with the tire pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this case. So as I look at this case, you'll see I still have all that diagnostic information, and it was smart enough to say, hey, I know that there's something going on with the tires. I'm going to assume that you need a tow or a flatbed because you have more than one, a problem with more than one tire. What our system went and did is you can see it grabbed, again, just to emphasize, it grabbed the address or the GPS coordinates off of our phone and transmitted that. And then based on where we're located, it went and looked for the nearest repair shops in the vicinity of where we're located. Now, what I did with this example is that because it is a BMW and this member was read as a BMW member, it moved the repair facility of BMW Portland to the top of the list. We kind of asked that our agents work in the list because normally what it does is it floats our preferred locations to the top, and as you can see here, it highlights them. And then they are always followed by kind of the nearest repair facilities after that. So you get a big long list. We get this by reaching out to Google, going off of Google's information to decide whether it's an automobile repair facility or not. A lot of times we reach out to Google to decide whether it's open or not. In this case, it didn't know a lot of these because I'm doing this pretty early in the morning, so usually it's a no. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this as a repair facility. And as soon as I accept it as a repair facility, it's going to go out and look for providers that meet certain parameters for fulfilling that dispatch. So what it went out and did is it looked over the ADS provider network, and it attempted to figure out who was closest, who could get there the fastest, who would do this at the best rate for us. One other factor that that it considers is whether they accept what we call digital dispatches. So if you were to look at this Patriot Towing, we have contracted rates with them, and they're also set up in our system to accept digital dispatches. So I can use this request digital dispatch button. Now, normally they would go out automatically. It would see that it was a digital dispatch provider, so there would be no interaction needed by our agent. In this case, I slowed it down and I said I want to request it manually. So usually if the first one in the list is digital, it will go out automatically, but they can also use these buttons to do it. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to look at this guy and I'm going to go, well, I know his en route distance. I know what the loaded distance is to get from where I'm broken down to BMW of Portland. I know that the rate that he'll do it at, and I could either, if I wasn't going to do it digitally, I could accept or reject this provider, or I could request a digital dispatch. I'm going to go ahead and do that now, which at this point, as soon as I request a digital dispatch, there is two-way communication going on because the provider is receiving it and responding how fast, whether he'll accept it or not, and how fast he could get there. So he's going to give us an ETA in minutes. We give these providers about a minute and a half to respond. They're usually pretty good about that. I mean, obviously it depends on the hours. This guy went ahead and accepted it with 45 minutes. So he's going to be on his way. He'll be there within 45 minutes. And then we can kind of go about, we're almost finished dispatching our case at this point. Because we've identified the location, we've identified a destination, and a provider who can do that for us. Now, our agents might put in some more information that would help the provider normally. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of refresh this just to kind of simulate that that lag time, the time lapse, you will, between when a provider actually arrives or accepts the dispatch and actually arrives. So we've got the same dispatch up there. We've got all our information filled out. I could cancel the dispatch if I needed to. We could also go down into there's a lot of other information we could fill in, but probably most importantly is how we pay the provider, and which we could do with a virtual credit card, as well as what we call our closed loop process, where we kind of gather information about how the provider did and how we did. So I could give it a rating here where I say, a 1 through 5 scale of how great things were. Let's just say everything was great and that we wanted to add some comments. Stella was very happy. Pardon me. Happy everyone arrived on time. So she says it's great, everybody got here on time. We could say whether we left a voicemail, and we know that the provider told us 45 minutes, but let's say he got there in 30, so the actual minutes that he took to get there. Go ahead and save the case, and then we can go through, and that's pretty much it for dispatching. I might do a couple more examples for you, but that served as a real quick preview. Thanks.